start with the welcoming words from the Deputy Minister for Regional Development of Czech Republic, or Czechia, sorry, and also the chair of the Rural Pact Coordination Group. As many of you might know, this coordination group is the governance body that steers the strategic direction and provides suggestions for the direction of the activities of the Rural Pact. So Radim, welcome. Thank you very much. I know you are very busy, so we appreciate you are here with us today to welcome everybody to this meeting. Thank you, Radim.
Good morning to everybody. It's so nice that so many participants are interested to join in this busy pre-Christmas time. I will be very brief because I'm just sitting at the meeting with the Minister of Internal Affairs and the first Deputy Prime Minister. We are dealing with the forms of intermunicipal cooperation, like local action groups, etc. So it's a great pleasure that we can cooperate on the long-term vision for European rural areas. We know that this vision is already, we have this vision for some years, but unfortunately, still it's a vision without the way how to reach it. And that's the reason why Rural Pact Coordination Group as one of the bodies dealing with one of the instruments which is mentioned actually or created on the European level to fulfill. That's my first point, that in case we need to reach the vision, I know that 2040 is still far away, but in case we do not have any steps reaching it, any targets reaching it, I always try to compare it to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals agenda, where there is necessary to reach certain targets in certain years, but we don't have anything like that on the European level. So we need to start the action, and this is the main reason of existing of the Rural Pact Coordination Group. And it was also one of the, it's one of the main goals of me and my vice chairman, Edina Očko, and all the members of the group to start the process, to bring it, as I always say, from the sky to the earth and to make action, because we are still talking on the European level. But if we look to the area, especially to rural areas, the people are more and more Eurosceptic, and we could see it also in the polls, and everyone in Brussels is afraid how the European elections will go. So we should start to change rural areas. What we need tools. Actually, we do have a lot of tools actually on the European level, designed from the European level. It's multi-fund community-led local development, unfortunately used widely only in the Czech Republic and just very few countries. Some of them even just going back from multi-fund to monofund. So I think it's a huge mistake. Then we do have Rural Pact, we have rule proofing, but not having a special methodology compared, for example, to territorial impact assessment. So we need to develop it, and we need to use this rule proofing and all these instruments on all the levels. It means European, national, regional, and local. So this multi-level approach is one of the crucial things. And to use the instruments that we have is another crucial thing. And I think the member states, and I am deputy minister, I am replacing my minister at the Council of the Cohesion Ministers, so 2 weeks ago in Brussels. So I spoke about it also during the lunch, sitting next to Commissioner Ferreira. And I think all the countries are understanding that there are huge threats with regard to demography. So it's not just digital and green transition, but it's also demographic transition. And this is, I think, a huge opportunity for us, to keep this kind of priority of demography and to get the resources to rural areas. And this is the final important thing, of course, in case we do have tools and we do have enthusiasm, but we do not have resources, we cannot change it. And in case we need the transformation of rural areas, we need resources. And when speaking, for example, about the energy area, now there is a nice study about energy communities in rural areas and alternative sources, and they can create almost 2% more GDP in rural areas and get a lot of jobs, and qualified jobs. So I think this is the way we should go, and we should try to get as much resources as possible. I always hate, because in our case, we have regional, rural, urban development under one roof of our ministry. And I always hate this sectoralism also on European level, also on national levels. If we need to change rural areas, we need multi-sectoral approach. It's not about any one ministry or DG dealing with that just on its own. We need really the multi-sectoral approach. And this is also a question of multi-fund CLD, for example, which would be used compulsory in all member states, etc., etc. And also, of course, resources coming to big projects, to small projects, to non-investment projects. And with this regard, I'm happy that the Rule Pact Coordination Group and is one of the first nice examples of cooperation between different DGs, especially between DG Agri and DG Regio. And I think this is the way. And when we were meeting at our first coordination group or second in Brussels, we have a clear message and clear goal. We should spread the information about the Rule Pact, about the long-term vision for rural areas, about the tools that exist to the national and regional local level. We should make some kind of campaigns. We should write to the prime ministers, because the prime ministers are those dealing with the development which is going across different sectors. We are preparing to write letters to pledges to the candidates to the European elections to join their commitments to promote Rule Act. So we will use this political momentum also to do as much as possible in the next half year to make as much publicity as possible and to persuade the member states and also to the regional local level that we need to use all the instruments and all the possibilities we have to push this issue. So I am very much looking for cooperation with all of you. You are kind of lighthouses of the Rule Pact and of this initiative. And just in case we cooperate together, we can change the rural areas. I love the motto, this African proverb: if you want to go fast, go alone. If you go far, come together. And this is very much valid also for the rural development and for the future of rural areas. So I'm very much looking forward for cooperation. And now also let me wish you Merry Christmas. I hope that you will enjoy the time. It's more relaxing than now in the busy pre-Christmas period. And in the new year, especially good health and good luck in your work. And I hope the prosperous and bright development of rural areas. Thank you very much. And I wish a very nice meeting today. And thanks to the Rule Pact office for organizing it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Radim, for the welcoming words. I think you touched upon very important aspects that we will try to deal with today. As you mentioned, you mentioned about making the pact and the vision a reality on the ground, having ways to monitor how much it is being spent on rural areas. That's something very important. You mentioned territorial development. We will have a group, how we can strengthen territorial development to make funding more accessible to local actors. The multi-sectoral approach, again, this is not about working in silos, it's about cooperation at different levels. We will have a group about that. We will have very good examples today about that. Tools, we need tools. We need these tools to be used, the existing ones. And now at the beginning of the day, we will present 2 tools developed by the Joint Research Center in the context as well of the vision, which might be as well of your interest. So let me share now my screen. So thank you very much, Radim. I know you are very busy, so we appreciate that you join us today to launch this meeting.
Sure.
So I give the floor to Giulia. Giulia from the Joint Research Center. And she will introduce, as Radim mentioned, some of the tools that are being developed in the context of the rural vision. Giulia, thank you very much. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Enrique. Thank you, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me. I prepared a presentation on some of the tools that we have developed at the Joint Research Center. I will share my presentation. Just give me 1 second. Let's see if everything works. Okay. If I do a full screen, no, maybe you're not seeing it. Can you confirm me? Do you see it as a preview?
Not yet full screen.
Not yet.
No.
Okay, no, it seems it's on the other side. Look, I will do this if you don't mind. because sometimes with Zoom we have some problems. It's almost full, right? Can you all see
Okay,
it?
yes.
Right,
Yes.
okay. Again, thank you everyone. Just really a few words about the Joint Research Center. I don't know if all of you know it. So it is a DG of the European Commission. We are 2,000 people, more or less. We are all basically almost all of us were scientists coming from all different disciplines. And the goal of the Joint Research Center is to provide research for policies. So what we do, we support the various DGs of the Commission, doing research on specific policies aspects. We develop tools and we share them among policymakers. We do validate them along the way, and we work, let's say, at different levels, sometimes with the local communities and some others with member states or at the European level entirely. I work in a unit that is called is B3, Territorial Development. I'm based in Seville. And we are more or less 40 people that work on topics related to territorial development. In my specific case, is urban and rural and territorial in general. Other colleagues are working on SDGs and so on. So I've been leading a project that is already in place since various years, and that took us to produce various tools. The first one was the Handbook of Sustainable Urban Development. Maybe some of you know it. It was on sustainable urban development, so in urban areas, so strategies supported by cohesion policy. And more recently, we developed another one that is for territorial development. So based mainly on the 21-27 strategies tackling non-urban areas. And then we've developed as well a self-assessment tool that I will present you in a second. The handbook, I will send the links afterwards, so you can check it. It's a PDF, but it's also an interactive page. This has been developed in order to give to managing authorities, to local authorities, to who is managing operational programs and strategy owners, a guide to help the development of a strategy from the design phase to the implementation to the monitoring one. It is divided into what we call building blocks of the integrated approach. So as you can see, there are 6 chapters on the strategic dimension, so on the territorial focus. So when you are designing a strategy, how do you design its borders? Who do you include and who not, and how? On governance, of course, issues that most of you dealing with territorial strategy has to deal with. It's about capacity building, involvement of different actors, cross-sectoral integration. How can you work with a different level? So it's, let's say, vertical and horizontal. And funding and finance, which is probably the most interesting, of course, for this session. And monitoring, so different ways of seeing, of monitoring a process of a strategy and project implementation. The various chapters are divided into challenges, as you can see, and then how do we reply to those challenges? Through recommendation, obviously, with examples and supports of other sorts of resources that were written before. So just to show you quickly on the funding and finance chapter, we deal with all the issues that is about how to program investments that match the ambition that you have at the local level, and also depending on the capacity that there is at the local level, how to reduce the administrative burden, and how to combine different EU funds, and how to benefit from other resources that are outside EU funds. So I really hope you will check the handbook and you will download it and you will find it useful. We are working also on the translation of the handbook in various languages. So we hope that it will tackle various, it will be useful for many of you. Then this other one is a self-assessment tool. So what is this? This is a tool that you can access online. That is basically, it is anonymous. You can use it in whatever phase you are when you are designing a strategy. And it is to support mainly local and managing authority to see if they are aligned with the integrated approach. So again, it is dedicated to who's developing ITI and CLLD in non-urban areas. And it's a way to identify and strengthen opportunities and to check where maybe you feel you are low, you didn't work enough on a specific point, and you would like to strengthen it. So you can see it is done in this way. So you can, you will see, you will type the name of your strategy up here. It is divided into the 6 building blocks. And there are statements that tells you, basically they are asking you, is your strategy aligned to this? Are you doing this? Are you involving citizens and so on? So on the side, you can score yourself how you feel. I mean, there is not a rule, of course. 1 is the lowest, 4 is the highest. And while you do it, there is a graph that is forming. You can see that there is the possibility here, if you click on the plus, to see, let's say, to go to specific chapters of the handbook that I just presented you, that basically will allow you to understand better the statement and allow you to understand how you could score it higher. At the end, there are also case studies that are small fishes that have been working on the specific topics. And by reading them, you should have definitely insights to understand how to score it better. This tool has also some notes here that you can click and you can type it. It's really thought in a way to have local authorities and who's dealing with it, make them in contact, so talk to each other in this way. So you can, for example, I don't know, to one colleague, Mark, I scored it here 1 because I think we don't have enough. What do you think? So Mark can download this and re-upload and continue making comments. Then you can print it at the end. It's a PDF and you can bring it inside your administration and you can have it as a tool for discussion. Then the rural toolkit. So this is a tool that has not been launched yet. We have been working very much and we really hope it is something that will be very useful at all local levels. It is an online dashboard. It will be launched in February. Very likely it will be the 6th of February, but I don't want to commit because we're confirming some still some attendance. But you will receive the email from the colleagues to invite you to the official launch. Now I will give you just a glimpse of what it is. So it will be hosted inside the Rural Vision platform. It has been validated in various cases. So we have been developing it and we show it to different stakeholders. We have been working, rethinking. And so now we're really at the final phase. It has been developed by us at the Joint Research Center. We have been doing analysis and processing data. It is a collaboration financed by DG Regio in collaboration with DG Agri. Of course, it's all based on the long-term vision for rural areas, and it is a guide for funds for rural development. Through the Rural Toolkit, you cannot apply for funds. So this is not the objective, but you will have a complete overview of what it is available and which are the funds you could access to finance something specifically. So we try to make it with a plain language. We go fund by fund and we describe specifically why it could be interesting and used for rural development. As I will show you in a second, there is a full page of example. This was also a huge work that we have developing that shows examples of projects that have been using one fund or multiple funds in rural areas. As I was saying, the idea is really to support as much as possible the place-based approach in rural areas, and it follows the pillars of the long-term vision: strong, connected, prosperous, and resilient. As you will see, any kinds of stakeholder can use it, and they can, let's say, shape the search depending on what they are looking for, depending on who they are. It will be like this. So there is an introductory part. We have developing as well video that we will share. It is this tool is translated in all languages, so this is also a big effort. There is a tool, a video that I was saying that will be shared that explains better how it is. We will share it in also social media. We really hope that it will be that is a tool that will be used broadly. The funding finder section is the main section. So you have various, you see boxes, the blue boxes. And here you start with this, tailor your search. So you search for who you are. Are you an academic institution? Are you an NGO? Activities you would like to fund. You will see there is a full list and types of support you want. Are you looking for direct funds so that you as entity would like to receive these funds directly, or are you looking for indirect funds? That means that the national or the regional authority will, let's say, catch these funds and then will be diverted to what you think it is more important in your local area to be developed, or financial instruments that are instruments of financing that are not grants or loans, but that involve also private actors and so on. So there you will see that once you search, always less funds will be available. You can click on the various funds and you will be able to download the fiche that tells you what is possible. As I was saying, we're finishing an Inspiring Yourself page where we show different kinds of examples. We have short examples, such as ID cards, that have been using one fund and that we think they are particularly interesting, and more extended fiches, that is cases where they used more than one fund. What we try to do in these descriptions, and I will finish now, is try to explain specifically why they used that specific fund, why they combined them, which were the main challenges of combining them, and which were the main, let's say, positive aspects of having them together. At the lunch, we will go much deeper in this. We will invite representatives of some specific case studies that will tell us how they used them. There is a resource area, so we collected different guides that can be specifically interesting, divided by topics. And finally, there is an about page that explains you more specifically what I was telling you, about the direct fund and indirect funds, what they are. And then we have a frequently asked questions session and a glossary. I think that the glossary is particularly important because you will see that maybe there are words that you are not very familiar with. Just by passing the mouse on it, you will see a simple definition of what they mean. So all this is done to support rural development. And I really hope that you will come to the lunch and that you will find those different tools useful. So the handbook, the Satfor Suit, and this rural toolkit soon to be launched. So I wish you all a great day of discussion, and I thank you very much again for the invitation.
Thank you very much, Giulia, for presenting the very interesting tools and the work that you are conducting within the Joint Research Center. Without further ado, I'd like to give the floor now as well to Isabel Bombal, Director at the Ministry of Agriculture in Spain. And as you know, at the Spanish presidency of the Council of the EU, the Council has published their conclusions on the long-term vision. So we have invited Isabel to make a reference to what are the key points raised there in the conclusions in relation to the topic of today. Thank you very much, Isabel, for joining us. I know you're as well very busy with your agenda, so we appreciate you're here with us. And the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Enrique. Good morning to everyone there. And first of all, I apologize for not being present today there. It's due to two reasons. First of all, we are changing the structure of the ministry, and right now I have to go to the ministry with a new team. And the second one is that I am on a maternity leave, as most of you already know, so I can't travel, but as you know, it's very important for me, and I'm very pleased to represent the Spanish presidency of the European Council in all the events, especially related to rural areas and their future, as we are really committed with that. And of course, thanks a lot to the European Commission and to the Rural Pact Support Office for organizing this Policy Action Lab in European funding for rural areas. And of course, for giving us the floor as the Spanish presidency. The moment in which this workshop is held, I think, is very timely, very interesting, because as you know, it is the first event related to the European Rural Vision, which takes place after the approval of these conclusions, these council conclusions you have already talked about, Enrique, and which were adopted in the Agri-Fish Council on the 20th of November and were welcomed as well by the General Affairs Council on the 30th of November. And well, we have worked a lot on these conclusions as Spanish presidency with the Commission and with the General Secretariat of the Council. And I want especially to thank this General Secretariat of the Council, all the work we've developed together to set out the Council's position on this European Rural Vision. And these conclusions will provide with relevant strategic guidelines on the future of rural areas and how European, national and local funds must be streamlined to support European rural areas and improve the living conditions of their inhabitants, of the rural populations. So I think this is the most important thing of the conclusions. And I think that the moment as well is very important of the adoption of these conclusions. First of all, because they have been adopted just before the start of the new year, 2024, in which, as you know, we all will start thinking and drafting the new legislative frameworks for the new programming period. So the message to the citizens of the European Union and to the institutions is that rural areas and their population are in our political agenda, the national one, the national ones, and the European one. With this initiative, we have joined two other institutions, especially to the Commission, to the European Parliament, and to the Committee of the Regions. One of its members, the chair of the Rural Pact Coordination Group, Radim is joining us today. So that these all institutions have already reflected on the rural vision and the need of help of supporting these rural areas all around Europe. And about the content of the workshop and how can we achieve our objectives, I think it is very interesting that you are addressing an important topic, which is the use of the European instruments and policies to support rural areas, because this was an issue which was as well highlighted in the discussions we held at the Sigüenza high-level forum, which is a high-level forum we hold during the Spanish presidency here in a rural area of Spain, with more than 2,050 people all around Europe from the civil society and from the institutions and the political political institutions as well. And well, it was organized by the presidency and the Commission and was a very important input for these council conclusions. And well, in this meeting, the Rural Pact community emphasized the importance of facilitating access to financial opportunities for local actors and communities to help them to implement their initiatives and their projects. And in this context, we believe that the upcoming toolkit of European funding for rural areas to be completed under the Rural Action Plan by the European Commission will be very, very relevant and suitable to achieve this goal. In this sense, I would like to highlight the content of the European Council conclusions and their political guidance and recommendations as to how to facilitate and optimize the use of European instruments and policies for supporting rural areas. For example, I'm just going to read some of the key points of these Council conclusions. The Council notes that future European, national, regional, and local funding for rural areas should duly reflect the pivotal role rural areas are playing to meet the economic, environmental, and social challenges the European Union and its member states are facing, including the ones created by the current geopolitical situation. Furthermore, it underlines that besides cohesion policy, the Common Agricultural Policy and the National Recovery and Resilience Plans, all relevant European policies, should, enhancing their coherence and synergies, be involved in contribute appropriate resources to support rural areas. Another important issue stood out from the Sigüenza meeting is about the complementarities and synergies among European funds, avoiding overlapping and silo approaches. And as I said, the moment is very important because in 2024, we are going to start developing and drafting the new legislative frameworks for the next programming period. To cover this coherence among European funds, the Council, and in its conclusions, invites the Commission to set up a monitoring instrument to assess European funding supporting rural areas by all relevant European policies and instruments, and supports the establishment of the beginning of each programming period of a procedure to ensure complementarity, coherence, and synergies between them without increasing administrative burden and costs. And another important issue is to simplify the procedures and requirements for beneficiaries with limited administrative capacity and to facilitate investment by optimally drawing from different European and national resources and the use of financial instruments. So to wrap up, I really believe that the outcomes and recommendations coming from this lab that you are addressing today will be very useful and will be taken into account by the Commission when preparing the forthcoming public report to be published in the first quarter of 2024, which will assess the actions developed under the Rural Action Plan. And in this context, the European Council conclusions as well invite the Commission to provide in this report a set of reflections on possible orientations for enhanced support actions and financing for rural areas, as well as to lay out options to ensure further synergy, consistency, coherence, and complementarity between the policies impacting on or benefiting rural areas and communities and enhancing governance at all levels. So I'm sure that this communication from the Commission will be very, very useful, will provide us with tools and procedures to streamline the use of the European funds and to reach the goals we all have decided that are basic and are very, very important for the future of all the European society, not only for the rural areas. Thank you very much for your attention, and I look forward to the outcomes of this Policy Action Lab and their follow-up activities. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Isabel, for linking up the Council conclusions with today's meeting. We have 3 more minutes. I'd like to see if there are any questions from any of you to the previous speakers. Please raise your hand or simply unmute yourself and come in. If not, we move on. Thank you very much, Giulia. Thank you very much, Isabel, for the tools presented, for giving an example on how the voices of rural actors has been heard by the Council in the context, thanks to the forum organized in Sigüenza, that many of the messages there has been taken up in the conclusions of the Council. Thank you very much. So let's launch the next. Sorry, I see a question here. Is the Rural Toolkit operative? Giulia, would you like to quickly respond to this?
It is not yet. We're finalizing it. It will be launched in February. So it will be very likely, as I was saying at the beginning, it will be the 6th of February. Through the Rural Pact colleagues, we'll ask them to share with you the link for the launch event. It will be online. very likely 1 hour and a half, and we will go deeply. We will show better how it works, look at the fishes inside, look at examples. So I think it is really important for any of you that is interested to attend. So again, it's not public yet, but from February on, it will.
Very good. So that gives me a good reason to remind you all, not all of you are members formal members of the Rural Pact. So if you want to receive the invitations to these events and notifications, we really you should register as a member in the platform. Colleagues probably will put the link here in the chat, so you can take the occasion during the break to register as a member of the platform, and then you will get all these notifications.